Welcome to this lightning talk, Engaging Students at the Interface of Education and Practice, a renewable assignment in social work. My name is Kelly Allison, my pronouns are she and her, and I'm an assistant professor of teaching at the UBC School of Social Work in Vancouver, Canada. In the spirit of truth-telling and reconciliation, I'd like to acknowledge that the UBC Vancouver campus is on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. I am so grateful to live and work on these beautiful lands. These are the expected learning outcomes for this session. Before working in academia, I spent many years as a healthcare social worker. So I teach social work practice, and in particular, courses about healthcare at both the undergraduate and master's level. At our school, there are two sections of the Masters of Social Work Healthcare class, one being for students who have practicums in a hospital-based practicum, and the other is for students who are in community healthcare settings or other type of practicums. In thinking about teaching a course about healthcare social work, I recognize that it is a broad field with a wide variety of practice areas. Consequently, the learning about all areas of social work practice in healthcare is beyond the content scope of one course. Also, from my experience as a clinician, I know that MSW social workers are increasingly being asked to make clinical decisions and offer interventions that are evidence-based and informed by literature. Therefore, as an educator, it's important to teach students how to engage with research and literature for practice. So for my course, I envisioned the development of a renewable assignment with several goals in mind. I wanted to provide students exposure to the breadth of practice areas of healthcare social work and allow them to explore areas that they're interested in. I wanted to help students to begin to synthesize the key thinking in relation to a topic or issue and help them understand how this information could be used in daily practice. I wanted our coursework to be meaningful and useful in their future professional practice. By giving students the opportunity to be producers of knowledge that might actually be used by others, I thought students would be motivated in their learning. Lastly, I thought this assignment was a unique way to engage with the larger professional community of healthcare social workers. This assignment allowed me to introduce students to the philosophy and principles of open education. They were able to begin to learn about open pedagogy and the rationale for engaging students as producers of knowledge through a renewable assignment. Students were also introduced to the concept of open educational resources and the 5 R's of how OERs are freely used. Because of my background as a previous healthcare clinician and my other role as the chair of our field education program, I have access to several social work practice leads and social work educators at various hospitals and health authorities across the wider Vancouver area. Knowing that practicing social workers do not have a lot of time to review current literature, I asked them and their teams to identify topic areas for students to research, which might be beneficial in the work that they do. I was amazed to get such a variety of topics from diverse practice areas, including neuropsychiatry, home and community health, rehabilitation services, mental health, and others. So here's how the assignment worked. I initially provided an overview of open education and the rationale for developing a renewable assignment. Students were also provided videos about how to use and upload their assignment to Wikipedia. I provided students with the list of topic areas generated by healthcare social workers or allowed them to pick their own topic if they weren't interested in one on the generated list. They then reviewed the literature on their chosen topic, summarizing and synthesizing the literature and identifying key themes, gaps, and contradictions. They were then asked to articulate the implications of their gathered information for practice. This was a key step in helping students think about how research is related to social work practice in a healthcare context. Students had to submit their assignment on a Wikipedia template that was already set up for them. They were then encouraged to read about various open licenses, choose an openly sourced photo to go with their literature review, and then were invited to publish their work openly. I received a small grant from our university's Rapid Open Education Fund, which allowed me to hire the Faculty of Arts Instructional Technology Department to build a WordPress site to house these literature reviews. So I started this assignment in 2021, excited to give students the opportunity to be producers of knowledge, and only had 2 students choose to publish their work openly. I felt a bit defeated. Now, this was still in the middle of the pandemic. Students were still doing online learning, and as many of us were, students were stressed and overwhelmed. I imagine that the pandemic contributed to students' capacity to risk and try something new. The other factor that may have been a contributor to the low number of students wanting to publish their work openly was that the WordPress site was not yet completed. Although I could verbally describe how these assignments were going to be compiled and shared, I think students had trouble visualizing it. For the second year, I consulted with colleagues regarding how to encourage more student participation. This included spending more time introducing the concepts of open education and addressing their fears about publishing. The WordPress site was also complete, so I could now show students what their literature reviews would look like on the site. In the second year, 28 out of 34 students published openly, so it was worth persevering. Although I don't have time to give you a tour of the WordPress site, this is a sneak preview of what the project page looked like, and you can explore more on your own by going to the link on the bottom of this page. To evaluate this assignment and the impact on students' motivation and learning, I asked students to complete a small survey at the end of the course. I had a 20% response rate with 12 out of 56 students completing the survey. Here's some quick results. 10 out of 12 agreed to publish their work openly. 6 out of 12 agreed that the assignment was valuable to their learning. 7 out of 12 agreed it was valuable to a wider community. 7 out of 12 agreed that this assignment was more motivating. 9 out of 12 agreed that it was more stressful because it was being published openly. 8 out of 12 agreed that this assignment increased their awareness of open education. I also shared the WordPress site with the social work leads and educators from 3 different health authorities in Vancouver, who shared it widely with their teams. Feedback from the community was very positive. Lastly, I want to share my ideas on how to make these projects sustainable and recyclable. By sharing with the community social workers, I hope that clinicians may use these literature reviews in their own work. The WordPress site offers clinicians ideas on how to do this. For future students in our program, I imagine using these literature reviews in the undergraduate social work and healthcare course to familiarize students with the wider areas of practice for healthcare social workers. I also envision an assignment where either future BSW or MSW students continue to add and update the literature reviews. I think these reviews can also be used by future MSW students in healthcare practicums. As part of my role as the chair of field education program, I educate field instructors, the community social workers who supervise students. I plan to coach field instructors on how to guide practicum students to use these literature reviews as the basis for field projects, such as developing training for interdisciplinary teams or creating educational materials for patients and families. I've also published this WordPress site and assignment description on Merlot Open Education Repository so that other social work educators can also access these literature reviews. Thanks for listening, and if you have any questions or would like further information about the assignment, feel free to reach out.